Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to part 5 of Advice for Life, the Rebbe's good advice for living a more purposeful and meaningful life. This is the second to last class, and tonight we are going to be dealing with an important subject, overcoming adversity. And I hope that you've enjoyed the first 4 classes and have started to get a feel of the Rebbe's outlook on life, with purpose and meaning and faith. And tonight will be no different. So let's start first with the idea of adversity. Adversity covers a big range of things. I mean, you can have adversity like a small little inconvenience. For example, you're waiting for the bus, you're standing at the corner, you see the bus, you run to the bus, and you miss the bus. You start thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, oh my goodness, you know what? I missed the bus, you're frustrated. You have to overcome this adversity. Well, okay, fine. This is what we would call more of an inconvenience. But it's still adversity. You still have to overcome it. Because why? You're feeling angry, you're feeling sad, you're feeling angry and angry. Okay? At whom? Now, who are you angry at? Are you angry at the bus driver that's doing his job? Or are you angry at yourself for not coming earlier? But we'll get to that in a second. So that's one end of the adversarial table. The other end is true challenges in life. Deep tsuris, as we would call it. And thank you, Kim. Deep tsuris in life. Now, very deep tsuris in life, meaning those challenges that cause tremendous amount of pain, which are real. And even a class like this, where we're going to talk about overcoming adversity, I don't want to think that we're going to be standing here and giving you glib advice, like, get over it. I mean, this is, there are some kind of situations very, very difficult to get over it. But even with those kind of situations, even when we're talking about a truly great challenge, a really deep, something that causes tremendous amount of anxiety, you will see how the Rebbe's outlook in the world, even those cases, will be able to somehow be able to function and, and bring some purpose and meaning to it. But again, I need to understand that most of the things that we're going to be dealing with would probably fall on the side of inconveniences and small little adversities, and the real tough questions we'll deal with tonight as well, but they're much more difficult, and even for some of those, you may need some more advice afterwards, even what we're going to be covering here this evening. I want you to remember one thing. There are billions I'll take that back. There are a lot of books out there that deal with this subject. Okay? The Rebbe is not the only one that deals with the subject of adversity and challenges in life. If you go online to Amazon and you go to their book section and you click in overcoming adversity, you'll get tons of books that are going to come your way. And I'm sure everyone has some positive aspects to it. I want you to always remember tonight that we are dealing with a specific individual called the Rebbe and his particular and unique, I would say particular and unique outlook on life, which then translates on his advice, because I can't tell you how many letters the Rebbe used to get, literally hundreds and hundreds of letters from people asking him for advice on all different types of subjects, and many of them were, of course, about adversity, which we're going to be dealing with this evening. Now, there are 3 principles that the Rebbe lived by. And if we can remember those principles in our minds, then you can take any case, whatever circumstances that we find ourselves in, or any letter that the Rebbe received, you can pretty much take that case and fit them to the Rebbe's outlook on life. Number 1, the Rebbe believed wholeheartedly that in Ashkacha Pratis, in divine providence. That means if something happens to us, it was meant to be. There is a God, and God's hand is in everything. That's a very important thing to remember, because when we miss the bus, what's the first thing we think about? And don't say the first thing that comes out of your mouth. I don't want to hear that, because this is a family friendly class. Okay? All right? This is a family friendly. So what we say is gosh. I missed the bus, gosh. Okay? All right? Darn, exactly. Okay? So don't tell me what the first thing that comes out of your mouth is. Okay? Do you think, oh, you know what? This was planned by God. God sat before creation and looked at 2024 on Atlantic Avenue tomorrow on Wednesday when it's raining for you to miss the bus. We don't think that way, but the Rebbe did. The Rebbe did. The Rebbe believed that in Hashgacha Pratis, based upon the Baal Shem Tov's teachings, who was the founder of the Hasidic movement, who taught us that everything in the world is divine providence. I mean, he said, even a leaf that blows in the wind in a forest, divine providence. God has a hand in it. Now that's not universally accepted, even among Orthodox scholars. There were many who believed that divine providence really is only directed towards righteous people. The rest of the world, whatever happens, happens. But God's divine presence and his outlook only. But the Baal Shem Tov said, no. Everything in the world comes from the Almighty. Everything comes from Almighty. And the Rebbe believed that and lived it. We may say it. We believe in divine providence. We may believe that, but we are not in tune that every single minute of our lives is God-centered. To the Rebbe, he was God-centered. Everything comes from God. Okay, and that's numero uno. The second is God is benevolent. This is one of the criteria that we have when we describe God. Number one, God is all-powerful, God is all-knowing, and God is benevolent. Okay, so we can get to the part of God being all-powerful because we exist here. So God, creates the world and he sustains the world. We understand how the power of God. All you need to do is, if you see an earthquake or you see a volcano, you see that when God wants to erupt, he knows how to do that very well. Okay, and you look at the universe, all-powerful. All-knowing, okay, fine. How does he know everything? Because since to him, he's above time, so past, present, future doesn't really play a role in his knowledge. He's present at every single nanosecond. Okay, so he knows everything, fine. Then comes benevolence. Now we believe in Judaism that God is all good. Okay, that's already where, when adversity comes in, that's where the challenges start. All right, if God is all good. It's okay, if God is all good, why couldn't the bus wait for me? Right? Why couldn't the bus driver sneeze at that moment?
You don't deserve it.
Oh, well, that's another story. Jimmy says it, but, that may be an answer to this, but you in your mind say to yourself, no one says that, right? Does anybody say, no, the $1 billion lottery, I don't deserve to win the lottery, and if I win it, I'm giving it to Charlotte? Yay. Yes? Yes? Maybe not. I'm 30, half. Half still good. All right? No one thinks about that. People just think, why couldn't, if God is benevolent, why couldn't this have happened, or why did it happen? This question starts to grow as we start to move along the spectrum of inconveniences. So if you miss the bus, okay, no harm, no foul. But God forbid you suffer a tremendous loss or a tremendous challenge. One of the questions that we ask is, why me? Why? Where is God? And what?
It's not all about you.
I know it's not all. I know it, but I wish. No, Kim says a smart thing. It's not all about me, but I wish that it would not be all about me.
Yeah.
But our default position is that when we get the proverbial kick in the pants, what do we say? What's usually our reaction? Me. It's about me. It's about me. So here we're going to see how the Rebbe's outlook on life, because he believed that God was benevolent, and because he believes that God has a hand in everything. The natural outcome of both of these, if you put A plus B equals C, is that everything has a purpose and
Even
everything has meaning.
Even terrorists?
Even terrorists have, yes, even terrorists. Now, Some of them, I know it's going to be hard. The first thing that comes up, why? We see terrible things happening. What's the purpose? So some you see openly what the purpose is. Others you don't see openly. But let's get through the class and we'll see if we can come to some kind of a conclusion. Okay. The first thing we're going to deal with is a story from the Talmud. Okay? Story from the Talmud. Nachum ish Gamzu. So if you want to, we'll go to the story and we're going to go to page 120 years. For me, it's when I'm just going to read the story so everybody gets an idea of how someone's outlook on life should be. You don't need a book, but if one. So there was a fellow that lived in the Talmudic times. His name was Nachum ish Gamzu. Okay, so Gamzu, we don't know whether it was a town. Ish means a man, so it could be Nachum from the town of Gamzu. But also there was rumors that he was called this because everything that happened to him, he said Gamzu Latova. This is also for good. This is also for good. Okay, so what happened to him? He says, why do they call him Nachum ish Gamzu? Because no matter what happened to him, he would respond, this is too is for the good. Okay, now listen to this story. It's a fantastic story. Once the Jews wished to send the Caesar a gift to gain his favor. I guess that was in the olden days when the Romans the Caesar had full control. Jews needed something, so they decided they're going to send him a gift, so he should do something for them. They asked themselves, who should we send to present this gift on our behalf? Why don't we send Nachum ish Gamzu? After all, he regularly experiences miracles, and we need one right now. So the holiest guy in town is Nachum. Nachum, we're sending the present with you. They provided Nachum with a chest filled with jewels and pearls as the gift, and sent him on his way. During his journey, he had to spend a night in a certain inn. Couldn't get to Rome right away, so he decided to stay overnight in this particular hotel. During the night, the folks living at the inn surreptitiously removed all the valuables from the chest and filled it with plain soil. So they stole all the goodies and they put in just dirt into his chest. The next morning, Nachum opened the chest to make sure that everything is there, realized what had happened. Now, for most of us, we would say, oy vey. That would be the first thing we would say, ay, 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 caramba. I mean, okay? Now this is a little worse than missing the bus, right? Unfazed, he trustingly declared Gamzu Latova. He said, this too is for the good. Now, right away at this point in the story, I would say to you, is it for the good? And we would probably say, no. Okay? It's probably not a good thing. I mean, if you're walking along and you have a bag full of diamonds and someone replaces it with dirt, generally not so good. Right? So good. But that's not for Nachum ish Gamzu. That's why he got the name Ish Gamzu, because everything is for the good. So now, what happens? Nachum arrives at the Caesar's palace and dutifully presents his gift. The royal officers opened the chest and saw that it was filled with soil, filled with dirt. The Caesar roared, "You're mocking me!" And about to execute Nachum, I'm going to bring the Caesar a chest full of dirt. Unfazed, they were coming to get him. Nachum ish Gamzu declared, Gamzu Latova. This is also for good. Let's pause here. What would most of us say at this point when they're coming to get you? Not so good, right? You would say, feet, do your duty and try to take off. But not Nachum. Nachum said, look, if this is the way it's supposed to be, Gamzu Latova. Just then, because he was Nachum ish Gamzu, Elijah the prophet appeared before the Caesar in the guise of his trusted minister. He suggested, well, hold on, before you're going to execute him, before you take him down, perhaps the special soul from the Jewish patriarch Abraham, when he threw soil in his war against the four kings, it miraculously turned into swords midair. When he threw stubble, it turned into arrows. So we have a tradition that Abraham fought a war against the four kings in the book of Genesis to save his brother-in-law, Lot, and he had no arms, so he took dirt and he flung the dirt, and the dirt turned into arrows and swords, and he defeated the four kings. So the minister's telling the Caesar, hey, you know that where did that happen? In Israel. This soil is from Israel. Perhaps the Romans were at war with a province that had proven itself indomitable. They were fighting a war at the time. They took some of the earth, tested it by throwing it towards the enemy lines, and rapidly conquered the province as a result. Miracle. When the Caesar realized that his gift of soil indeed contained miraculous powers, he ordered his servants to enter his treasury and to fill the chest with precious jewels and pearls. He presented the chest to Nachum Ish Gamzu as a token of appreciation and sent them off with great honor.
And he didn't stay at the same hotel.
And then he went, You know what the funny thing is? He went back to the hotel. They don't say the end of the story, but the same nefarious people that stole the first time figured, you know what? Our ground, they mistakenly, thought that it was the ground that was holy. They didn't realize it was Nachum Ish Gamzu that the miracles brought through him. So they took out all of the gold, they left it in the room, and the precious pearl, and they filled it with earth. They brought it back to Rome, and they said to the Roman emperor, we brought you some more of that miraculous thing. The emperor said, okay, let's try it out. But this time when they flung it, it was just dirt, and I don't want to tell you, they called Luca Brazzi, and that was it. End of the story. They took care of them. But why is this an important story, and why is it told to us? Because this is the attitude of a person that believed. The same thing as the Rebbe believed. The three principles. Number one is everything is Hashgacha Pratis. Whatever happens to me, the hand of God is. God is benevolent, meaning that He's not going to do something to put me in a place of danger without a purpose to it. Without a purpose. And number three, here's the purpose. Now, here in this story, it's easy to see the hand of God because it was an open miracle. Many times we don't see the open miracle, but since we don't see the open miracle, the Rebbe would argue, so what's the difference? It doesn't matter. Sometimes things happen to us, we don't realize only until much later why this happened to us and why we were worried, why we put so much effort into things when we could have done it so much differently if we would have just said to ourselves, you know what, look, whatever happens, I missed the bus. Okay, you know what, there's another bus coming. There's another bus coming. Now, so that's the story. What's the Rebbe's approach to these issues? So I'm going to tell you another story that's much more, I wouldn't say pertinent, because it's a pertinent story, present, in the present. I have a colleague that is a shliach, an emissary of the Rebbe here in California. He tells the story publicly, so I don't have to disguise who he is. He's up in Northern California. He came there, a very, 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 very rough time making a go of it. I mean, there was no money. He was this, and it was the community was not allowing him in. They were checking him at every place, and to add everything else, he got sick. He came up with this autoimmune disease that just left him sick. So he sent a letter to the Rebbe, and he said to the Rebbe, I'm here, there's no money, there's this, and on top of everything else, I'm sick. I can't do anything. I want you to relieve me of my duties. I want you to relieve me of the shlichut. I'm an agent of you. You sent me here. I would like you to relieve me of this. So the Rebbe answered him like this. The Rebbe said to him like this, listen, to relieve you of your shlichut, I can't. Because your shlichut is your mission in life. And your mission in life is your purpose. So if I relieve you of your mission, I'm relieving you of your purpose in your life. That doesn't make any sense. How could I relieve you of your purpose? Now, if you ask me to help you alleviate the problems that will allow you to fulfill your mission, now you got yourself a partner. Think about this for a second. Here's a guy. For most of us, we would have been gone at the first sight of adversity. Let's be honest. Okay? We're sitting in a town. It's not working for us. We're still a year, 2, 3. It's not working. You're not successful. You get sick. Goodbye. See you later. Arrivederci. Shalom. Lahitraot. Goodbye. He was a loyal follower of the Rebbe. He wouldn't walk away from it. He wanted the Rebbe sent him there. He wanted the Rebbe's blessings to leave. So what did the Rebbe say to him? Look, you're there because you have a mission and a purpose to be there. You want to help. You want some help to get rid of all of the adversarial issues that are plaguing you. Now let's talk business. Now let's see what we can do. Okay? That is a completely different outlook. I mean, that's a unique outlook on life. Who thinks of it that way? Most of us would say, you know what, you're not happy, you're sick, go back to your family to New York, but not the Rebbe, because the Rebbe was consistent. Number one, God put you there, there's got to be a reason. Number two, he's sending challenges to you, so what are you going to do? You're going to let the challenges defeat you? Every time you have a challenge, it's going to defeat you? No. I mean, you missed the bus. What, you're not going to go to work that day? What are you going to tell your boss and your coworkers? I missed the bus. I decided not to come to work today. So you know what your boss is going to say? I have a good suggestion. Stay home every day. Stay home every day. You don't have to come into work at all. Don't worry about it. Okay? We wouldn't do that. So the Rebbe was here, is consistent in saying to us, when things happen to us, which we would call situational, outside things are coming at us, the Rebbe says to us, listen, look at it, think about it, understand always that you have a mission in life. How does this fit into your mission in life? Okay? And every situation that you could find yourself in, even if it's something that causes you some angst, but if you can overcome it by understanding and putting yourself in this frame of mind. Okay. So, when I tell you this story, you could think to yourself, okay, all right, fine. So you know what this is really? This is really a case of when life gives you lemons, what do? Make lemonade, right? Make lemonade. But no. This is different. Because that's when you first hear what the Rebbe says. Look, make the best of all situations. You're there. That's b'diavad, we would call it. That's a secondary cause. When you say, when life gives you lemonades, which means that it's a negative happening to you, then try to do the best with the negativity in your life. Make lemonades. But that's not what the Rebbe is saying. The Rebbe is going even deeper. The fact that you have this challenge, the fact that you are in this kind of a situation, means that number one, you're supposed to be there, and number two, that there is some purpose. Not that we have to look at this like lemons. It's not really even lemons, because number one, God could give you lemons, you can't make lemonade out of one, and what do you do then? Well, if I tell you, if God gives you lemons, make lemonade, what if God gives you bad lemons, you can't make lemonade? So that wouldn't help you much. Here the Rebbe is saying even further, that there is a purpose to this, that the fact that you find yourself in this situation, it's not a negative thing, but there is something that has to be done. So if you miss the bus, right, and you have to wait now 15 minutes, there's a reason for you to be an extra 15 minutes on the corner of Atlantic and Carson. There's something that needs to be done over there. You're going to meet somebody, you're going to do something, you're going to gather your thoughts. Use that time to say to yourself, hey, you know what? I didn't want to miss the bus, and we'll try not to miss the bus again. But if I did that, there's got to be a reason why I did this, and therefore it's not making lemonade out of lemons. This is my destiny. And if it's my destiny to miss the bus by 15 minutes, listen. Now, that kind of an attitude, you can, you use in all kind of different kind of situational, things that happen to you. Because why? We're all going to face challenges. I wish that we didn't. I wish life would be smooth, and I wish life would just be the best and the easiest way to live, but unrealistic. We're all going to miss the bus sooner or later. We wish and pray that the worst thing that would happen to us is inconveniences. Even big inconveniences, like, you miss a flight. And that's a bigger. But if you think about it, in the general sense, is it more than really an inconvenience? So what happens to you? What happens to you if you missed a flight? You wait for the next flight, right? You think the next. Worst comes to worst, you have to stay over. You get another flight. Okay, so it's not pleasant. You don't want to. You had plans. You had this and that. But there was a situation once when in the late 70s. The ladies of Chabad had a convention in Detroit, and that's one of you've seen a story over there in the book. They had a convention in Detroit. Coming back to New York, there was a snowstorm. They couldn't get out. So they wrote the Rebbe a letter. The snowstorm here, I want a blessing, we want to get out. So the Rebbe said, what do you want? What? That's what you write to me, you want to get out? Because this is what you write to me. You should realize that the fact that you're in Detroit, in a snowstorm, and you're not getting out, means what? That there's something for you to do there. There's a purpose for you being there. Okay, there's a purpose for you being there. Now, for most of us, what will we do if we missed a flight? We'd sit we'd sit on our chair, okay, and we grouse and we'd be like this, sitting like this. Or you can say to yourself, you have the phone. Yeah, well, listen, now you have a phone, and and then of course you plug it in and it doesn't work, and now you're out of juice. Okay, now you're out of juice and you can't find. Okay, so even then, even if everything goes against you, you realize that there's a purpose here. Many times, but the key here is that you need to take advantage of this. That's the key here. What the Rebbe is trying to imbue in us is that when we find ourselves in these kind of situations, we need to take advantage of it. Look around, see around, what could possibly be. Maybe it's something internal. It could be something internal that we need to do, or it could be something external. Maybe there's someone sitting next to us we need to have a conversation with. Whatever it's going to be, the Rebbe always felt there's a reason why this happened. Marcy.
I have to believe that not only that there's a reason maybe why you're in a certain place, but maybe you're prevented from getting somewhere else because you don't want to be on that flight, or there's something that's happening there that maybe you shouldn't see.
That's also true. That's also true. We, unfortunately, have what we call limited vision. We don't see the big picture. It's like Moshe Rabbeinu last week. It's one of the most fascinating sections in the Torah. And after the golden calf, Moses prays for the welfare of the Jewish people, to forgiveness. God acquiesces. And then Moses comes to him and he sees there's an opening here and asks God to show him his glory. Show me your glory. Now, what does he mean by show me your glory? I want to know how the system works. How do you work it? I mean, why? This guy gets this and this. Show me the operating system behind the curtain. Okay? God says, I'm sorry. I wish you can. Then there's a whole story in the Medrash how God shows him this scenario of this kid going out. He loses a wallet. The guy finds a wallet. Somebody kills the guy. Another guy kills the guy. He shows them different scenes, and it seems to be disjointed. One doesn't make sense with the other, and then he shows them another behind the back scene, and God shows them how each thing led to one, to another, where there's justice in the world. Okay, we don't see that. I wish we would. I wish we would know. I missed the flight, so instead of being angry or disappointed or this or that, no, it was actually a good thing because no, God forbid. See, that would be the worst. That I could, but you see, now that's an interesting point because you said the plane crashed, because you have various, on one hand, if it's a relative of yours that would happen to, they missed the plane, you're thrilled, right? You're absolutely ecstatic. You missed the plane. Oh my God, how great God is. But then the 270 other people, that's hard to justify and defend that. But if we would know, do it. But nonetheless, the one part that we can control, as we always say, the one part that we can control is the idea of how we now decide of how we are going to meet these challenges. And again, this is the Rebbe's advice, that, you can sit there and you can be disappointed and scream at the airline, and scream at the bus driver, do whatever, scream at the wolves, howl like a wolf in the middle of the night. You can do whatever you want. It's nothing. You gotta do something. Now, again, this is the caveat. Missing a bus and missing a plane and all these inconveniences, very easy to do, and to switch your attitude. Deeper ones that hurt, like some people but even the pain, the truly hard pain, which we'll get to a little bit later on, loss of a relationship. She breaks up with you. Now, you thought that your entire life is this beautiful, wonderful woman, and you had planned your entire life to be with this, and you put everything into this relationship, heart, soul, might, money, finance, everything. She takes off the ring, and goodbye. Goodbye to you. Okay?
That does feel really hard.
No. Yes. Why? That only happened to me 4 times. No. Okay. No, it's not. I'm joking. I mean, that right, people are going to start thinking, Chani's number 5. Chani is the only one I dated. That's it. I have one love in life. I don't want to start rumors around. I don't want to start rumors around, as this. But I have dealt with people that have a tremendous loss of relationship. Now, you can sit there in your seat, and being on the other side of the table, and say, "So get over it." What's the big deal? There's a million women. There's a lot of women in the world that would love you. You're a wonderful guy. You're a tremendous guy. But when you invest so much emotional capital in this relationship, and you really care deeply about this person, and the person doesn't care deeply about you, it's truly painful. And the key is to be able to give advice. You have to stand in the other person's shoes, and feel that kind of pain. It's not so easy. I'm not even mentioning death, because death is. I'm going to give you a chance, Shoshana. Give me 1 second. Death is like off the charts. I'm not talking about a death of a parent who's 104. If your mother lived till 104, she didn't cheat you into this. But there are kind of deaths where painfully hurt, and the Rebbe's advice still holds. The Rebbe would still say, listen, if you went to him and you said to him, I'm hurting, and the Rebbe would not minimize your pain. It hurts, and it hurts like hell, that. But he would still say to you, you know what? You can still live. Number one, you can still live. You can still live a productive life. And try to think to the best of your ability where I could make a positive impact, even with the pain that I am feeling. Shoshana.
Yeah, very quick. Long time ago, had a movie with Jewish actress Gwen Paltrow.
Okay.
And called Revolving Door. That's something about what you talk about playing. She missed the
right.
door, and the story, 2 stories, one by side. What if she'll get into that, ended with death, and what if she missed that?
Right.
And there's another story, love and stuff.
That's what happens. That's what happens. Choices, opportunities. That's what it is. I mean, there is and somewhere in here in the book, there's an interesting quote from. If I can find it, I will definitely share it with you. But it's whatever it is. Maybe I'll find it. Oh, here it is. Just to hammer home the point, the Mandarin word for crisis in Mandarin, which is not my first language. Okay, it's number 3. Okay, so what is the word for crisis? A combination of danger and opportunity. So crisis is danger and opportunity. So that's kind of what falls into play when you say, if life gives you lemon, make lemonade from it. So when you have chaos, what do you have? You have danger plus opportunity. The Rebbe wants to take out the danger part. Don't think about the danger part. It's okay. No, listen, don't be foolish. I mean, you're not going to go into a place where that's dangerous, but it's opportunity. It's opportunity. Now you have to ask yourself, okay, we're sitting over here talking about, inconveniences, and then moving up the scale of adversities. We're talking about real pain and real situations. Why? Why did God have to make it this way? I'm not talking about a particular one, because that you can't really know. I mean, if I would know why God did everything to everybody, then I would be God if I knew the reason for all of this. But why do this in a fashion instead of just making human beings live? You live your life, you get through life, and then you die and have a good day. And you don't have to have all of this angst and anxiety and pain and tragedy. Why? So one of the reasons that was given is that we just passed a couple of weeks ago, we passed the section of Tetzaveh. That was the section that we read about making the clothing of the Kohanim. But before then, the first part of this section was about the oil, the olive oil that was in the menorah. There was a special process how to make that olive oil, because not all the oil could go into the menorah. Only the first drop of the very special olives. Now, meaning that you had to take the olive. Now, how do you get the oil out of the olive? Is there any other way of doing it? No, there's no other way. You take the olive, you squeeze it, you get the drop of oil. Right? Talking to it will do what? Nothing. If you talk to the olive and say, please, look, it's for the menorah. Okay, I don't want to have to squash you, but this is a very big mitzvah. And we would be very appreciative if you would just give us one drop. What's the olive going to say to you? No, nothing. What do you got to do? You got to take it and squeeze it. So the rabbis learned from this a lesson in life. A lesson in life. You want to get olive oil out of you? What do you got to do? Squeeze. That's the squeeze. You see? Now, you want a tender little squeeze, right? You don't want a bear hug that's going to come, your kishkas are going to come out, right? You don't want that, right? You want to be challenged. You want to bring out the best in you, because you know for sure that if you want to bring out the best in any individual, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a coach, whether you're a parent, whatever the circumstances are, if you want to achieve the best result from anybody, the one thing you got to do is give them challenges. Just giving them everything. Imagine if you were be able to give your children, your loved ones, everything that they would want. Would that be a healthy way to raise them? No, we agree that. Absolutely not. What you want is you want your children to be able to be challenged, to have that, but also give them the tools to overcome these kind of challenges. Then you know what kind of a human being these people really are. The smart, even a king, who can give the prince everything. A smart king will take the prince and dump him off in some foreign land and say to him, you know what? You're on your own, kid. I'll come back to get you. Let's see how you manage out there. That is why God throws these things, because he wants to see you missed the bus, you missed the plane, you have this loss of a relationship. He wants to see what's gonna happen. He puts you in this circumstance because he knows that deep down inside of you, there's a wellspring of tremendous amount of courage and of strength. We're never going to be able to access that if we don't have to. If we can, what's the easiest things of doing in life?
Nothing.
Gornish.
Just sitting there.
And that's what we're going to do for the next 45 minutes. I want everyone to relax and just meditate and that's it and do nothing. Because that's the easiest thing in life. And God knows that's the easiest thing in life. And what does that cause? That cause inaction. And then the people who are nefarious take advantage because they know that we're not going to do anything. Not going to do anything. So God puts us in these kind of situations for our own good, gives us these challenges, and says to us, listen, I know. I don't do this because it's just, capricious, that I just want to see you suffer. But I know that there's a wellspring down there that can be accessed. But the key is here, and this is always the same thing even with the Rebbe's advice, is you have to be willing to follow through. If the Rebbe says to you, like, you know what, do something, like he said to my colleague. Now, my colleague could have taken the Rebbe's letter and say, you know what, Rebbe, it's very nice, you're in New York and you're leading the organization, and I'm sitting here in a two-horse town here, with nothing going on. Great. But if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to take the Rebbe's advice and willing to learn and to grow, that's the key. That is the key. But for many of us, we're not ready to take that step. We're willing to moan and groan, but we're not willing to look into ourselves and say, you know what, there's a purpose, because many of us get petrified. We get petrified and we get closed into that moment of grief, and that's it. And that's where we remain. And the Rebbe was all about moving, going out there, getting out there. I mean, I have a friend over here that's watching right now, Dean. I mean, he just posted over here. You can't see him because he's so far away, 3,000 miles away. But by the magic of Disney, right? Okay, not Disney, Zuckerberg. By the magic of Zuckerberg, we're pleased. Dean is a man, and Ari, that went through challenges in life. They had a huge challenge, in life, and this family could have easily buckled under and just quit. And say, forget about it. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in God. I'm not interested in what you do. This is what you do to us. You put us into the hardest challenge ever, but they didn't. So I know for certain that there are people in the world that can, because we have this wellspring, of courage and determination and grit and fortitude. These are not just words. These are real life feelings that we have inside of us. But the only way we're going to be able to access them is when we're called to do that. We would never, in a million years, the Jewish people, have an army of Tzahal. Let's be honest. We would never have the Israeli Defense Forces unless we needed them. Why would the Jews, who for 2,000 years were involved in study and writing and study and writing, and publishing, that was our whole existence, was writing and studying and publishing. We didn't do anything more. Okay, a little business here and there, the banking business, this business. Okay, we own the whole world. Okay, let's be honest. Okay, but besides that, we didn't have an army. Why would we have an army? But now we're forced to. So if you're going to have an army, you're going to have the best army. You're going to have arms. You're going to get the best arms. But this is not what our desire is. But if you want to bring out the best in us, this is what it is. So, if we can tap into that idea and ideal and live that kind of life, just to take a deep breath before losing it and wailing and crying and bitterness, just to sit down for a second. Now, again, depends how far you are on the spectrum from inconvenience to 10 level of pain. It's easier to talk about it, much easier missing the bus than grieving for a loved one. I understand that, but even the extreme grieving for a loved one, there is hope. Because we know that Jews have hope, because as Elie Wiesel said, when Jews don't have hope, you know what they do? They create hope. Okay, if there's no hope, you create hope. Because hope is a good thing, a very good thing. So we have hope on this side. Okay. So all of these, the Rebbe the we mentioned here, were all what we would call situational adversity, meaning outside. What does this come in? Well, let's ratchet up a little bit. Let's talk about fellow challenges. Dealing with people. Okay? You have a miserable boss. Okay? Your boss is a miserable guy. Okay, if you've ever worked for a big corporation, you don't get to choose who your boss is. All of a sudden, managers change. You get changed. You get things out. You know what? Who's my carrier? Frontier, I believe now. It's been changed 45 times since I moved to California. I can't keep. I think it's Frontier. Never in all of my years of calling a technician did I get the same guy. Never. Yeah. It's always a different guy. Nice guys, good guys, knowledgeable guys, wonderful guys, but never the same guy. Never the same guys. Okay? What does that tell me? That things shift quickly, in corporations, so you have a miserable boss. Okay? Or you have a dishonest partner. You have a partner in business that you thought that was honest, you come to find out a dishonest partner. Or you have, again, I go back to a failed relationship. You thought that you're going to have this relationship. The other person completely disappoints you. How do you deal with these? So the Rebbe also had a very strong opinion on how to deal with adversarial things that come from the outside. So number one, the Rebbe's opinion always was, when you're looking at someone askance, that means you have something against him, try to think about what it would be like if you could somehow win them over. Think of it. Imagine if that instead of him being an adversary to you, he would be your ally. What it would be like. Okay? Think about this. They tell a story in here, which I can verify because I know this happened. So I was living in Boston from 1980 to 1988, and I was in the Chabad house in Boston, and I covered many different places, in Boston, on universities, primarily Boston University, but I also had, like Harvard and this. So one of the things I used to do was before Pesach, I hand out matzah to various people. One of them was Professor Alan Dershowitz. Now he tells the story in here, and he's told the story publicly. So one day I come to Dershowitz, and he tells me the story. What's the story? That he wrote the Rebbe a sharp letter, that he disagreed with the Rebbe. What did he disagree with the Rebbe about? What happened was that every year for the Rebbe's birthday, there's an organization called American Friends of Lubavitch, which is the Chabad's arm in Washington, D.C., would make what they called Education Day. They'd get the president to sign a proclamation honoring the Rebbe. The Rebbe was born 4 days before Pesach. So always before Pesach, they would have what they call Education Day. And then they would make a big party in Washington, invite all the senators and all the congressmen, and they would have a big to-do and talk about the Rebbe and talk about Chabad. Yeah. Anyways, he writes the Rebbe a letter because he saw that they invited Senator Jesse Helms from North Carolina. And Jesse Helms from North Carolina is no friend of the Jews, anti-Semite. Okay? Why did they allow him to do this? So the Rebbe said, first of all, he writes him back a letter. He says to him, my opinion has always been Yamin Mikarevis, with the right hand you embrace, Usmoil Doiche, with the left hand you push away. You always start with Yamin Mikarevis. Always start with trying to embrace. It doesn't work with the embracing, then later on. Because you never look at what's happening in the past. Always look at the possibility of what's happening in the future. Let's see what happens with Jesse Helms. Okay. One day, there's elected a senator in Nevada called Chick Hecht, a Jewish senator, Republican. Jesse Helms is a very powerful person in Washington, senior senator, and he was a chairman of the Appropriations Committee in the Senate. So Chick Hecht says to him, you know what, Mr. Helms, you've never been to Israel. You've always criticized Israel and this. Why don't you take a trip to Israel? Now, when the senators of the United States fly to Israel, it's not like we're flying to Israel. Okay, they don't go like squished like this and eat, those little sandwiches that El Al gives you. They go very differently. You pay for it. Thank you. All right? So they fly to Israel. He's blown away. Blown away. Blown away. In a short matter of time, Jesse Helms turns like this, becomes one of the great advocates of Israel in the Senate, till in the Appropriations Committee he held up the whole bill until Israel, and not only in Israel, specific institutions in Israel were given American money. Dershowitz is telling me this, and he's telling this, and he publicly said this at the Rabbi Kiddush, and he says the Rebbe was right. The Rebbe was right, that when you have an adversarial relationship with somebody, and someone is not good to you, first thing you try to do is understand what the idea is, and maybe possibly Yamin Mikarevis. Try to look at the situation as if you're embracing them. Then later on, if it doesn't work, small doiche. Let your left hand push it away. Think about this. If we would live this in this kind of environment, that instead of everybody that does something against you, he automatically becomes your enemy, right? And you walk around, who had the enemy list? Which president? Nixon. Thank you very much, Charlotte. Okay, and Jimmy. Nixon had an enemies list, as long as this. I wasn't on it. I was always mad. Why I was not on that enemies list. Every prominent American was on that list except me. I was very upset. Okay, I was 9 years old, but still, he still could have had me on the list. It didn't matter age. Age is, a social construct. It's a social construct. Okay? So this was the Rebbe. So let's say you have an adversarial relationship with someone else. Try to think about what the future would be like if you could somehow win them over and say to them, hey, you know what? Instead of having this relationship, what is the problem? Now, there's some people you can't talk to. We understand. And the best thing to do is to walk away from these kind of situations. Of course, that's for sure. That's true. But if you can see within themselves a possibility, what does that mean? That means that what you are right now, the fact that you find yourself now in this adversarial relationship with this person, there's a purpose. Because God did not put you into this situation without expecting something to happen. Now, the end result is not up to you, because you can never make someone else's mind. Right? There's many times people came to the Rebbe and said to the Rebbe, give me a blessing that my enemies should fade away or something, not in those words, but, get rid of my enemies. And the Rebbe always said, no. You can't bless for another person what they think. They have free will. Well, you want to take away their free will? They have free will of how they act. You have to concentrate on how you're going to react to all kinds of situations. Many times, if you act in a proper way, in a good way, in a positive way, things will work out. Things will work out. And you know what's going to happen? And the more that the adversary sees that you're not playing into their trap, the good chances they're going to, say, to themselves, forget about it. And there's many people that walk by the Rebbe on the dollars that told the Rebbe the same story, that they had a challenge, and with the Rebbe's blessing, they overcame the challenge. So the Rebbe said, great. Fantastic. You see, but you have to forget about what happened in the past. That's the key. And just because Helms once was anti-Semite doesn't mean that we can't win him over as an ally. So the Rebbe gave hope to everybody in all kind of situations, even with people that you don't get along with right now. That ultimately, so that again, there's a caveat in there that there are going to be certain times and certain situations where it's best to stay away from them. Best to stay away from them. Loy mehem v'loy ma'maynim. We don't want to deal with them. We don't want to deal with their financial support. The best thing to do is to say no. And there are people like that. Okay, that's absolutely correct. No doubt about that. Now, so here we've dealt with two kinds of situations. Numero uno, we've dealt with situational things, nisabas. Number two is, you had adversarial relationships with it. The third thing is, and this is probably the hardest one of all, internal struggles. You don't think you're good enough. You know what? You sit there and you struggle with yourself and you say to yourself, you know what? I'm just a lousy parent. I'm not a good parent. I'm not a good worker. I'm not this. I'm not that. You know what? You feel terrible about yourself. And what happens is you start to get into this vicious cycle. It becomes a vicious cycle because the more that you try to, correct yourself and you fail, it just becomes self-recurring over and over again. I always give the example of, you want to lose weight. You know what? I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I know none of you have this challenge, but I do. Okay? I do. And I've had this on for a long time. I probably lost over the years a ton. 5 pounds here, 5 pounds there, get it back. So finally, you say to yourself, today is the day. Today is the day. I'm going to do it. It's my birthday. My birthday was yesterday. All right? So yesterday, I make a resolution. And this is going to be the year I'm going to lose weight, okay? Because I'm getting older and I want to live to take revenge on my kids. It's the only reason. Why do you want to live long? Do I want to live long? Why? So I should live to see the Apple, what did they call the iPhone 29? Or do I'm going to live to see the iPhone 20? What do I care about that? What do I care about? I didn't care about that. I want to live just long enough to take revenge on my kids. Meaning that whatever my kids did to me, I'm going to do to them. Okay? Two ways. Through their children, but also me. So I go to my kid's house. I bring a bag of potato chips. I eat it in the middle of the living room on the floor. Where, by the way, I take my socks and shoes off and I leave it there in the middle of the floor in my kid's house. And then all the other stuff that they did to me. So that's it. Baruch Hashem. You want to take revenge on your kids. I don't even know. Yeah, I'm telling you. So you think you think to yourself, so I got to lose weight. Now I have to lose weight because I want to do that. So we start the first day. I'm going to cut out my 3 best friends that I love. Now that's part of it. I'm going to cut out fat, sugar, and salt. That's it. Anything that has fat, sugar, and salt, I'm saying goodbye to them. I'm leaving. Goodbye. All that's left is kale. That's it. That's all I'm eating is kale. I'm going to eat kale, and I'm going to eat a radish and a turnip. These 3 things which I love. Kale, radishes, and turnips. My 3 favorite fruits. In 2 days, I'm pulling my hair out of my head. Okay? I want to commit suicide. Why is life worth living? Well, life is not worth living if I have to spend the rest of my day without my 3 best friends. So I bring them back. I say, you know what? 1 chocolate bar, come on. How much could that hurt? 1 chocolate bar. Such a small chocolate bar. So you eat the chocolate bar. See, weak Pearl Mother. You're so weak. You can't even, it's not even 1 week and already you broke it. So I feel so down, like right now, all of this, I'm in despair. I know what I'm going to do. I'll have to make myself feel better. How can I make myself feel better? Let me say. So I get another chocolate bar, Stanley. Thank you. I get another chocolate bar. I feel so good. Then I think to myself, why? Now 2 chocolate bars. It's so terrible for me. Look at my blood sugar is going to go through the roof. My doctor is going to kill me. You know what? What do? I got to feel a little better about myself. What do? A 3rd ice cream. Okay? So the whole day and the whole night, all I'm doing is this vicious cycle going over and over again. Those are the hardest Now you have adversarial challenges from outside, your boss. This is hard. You have situational things. You missed the bus, you missed the plane, hard. But internally, when you start beating yourself up in your head that you're not good enough, you're not a good enough parent, you're not a good enough rabbi, you're not a good enough friend, you're not a good enough things, it eats you up. It eats you up. We've talked about before in this class about imposter syndrome, where people in positions of power are deadly afraid that they're going to be exposed for being frauds. I mean, think about this. And this is especially true about high-powered women that find themselves in huge positions in America in corporate offices that are deadly afraid that one day someone is going to come into the room and expose that you are a fraud. They're not. They're not frauds. They are accomplished, they're smart, they're driven, they're successful, but in their minds, they don't belong here. I don't belong here. I don't belong here. To rabbis, this never happens. The rabbis have such a delusional sense of self-worth. I'm telling you, every rabbi believes that they are the God's gift to the universe. No rabbi ever suffered from imposter syndrome. And I can prove it to you. Just come one day to their service, they get up there and pontificate about things they know nothing about. Nothing. And yet they have the chutzpah to get up there and to sound as if they know something. Thank God for the Rebbe, gave us a whole wide world of books to steal from him, which never give him credit, but make it sound like we came up with this things. So rabbis don't suffer, but there are people that suffer from this imposter syndrome, and there are other people that suffer from this sense of low self-esteem. So you can go, and you can go on Google and go to Amazon and go to low self-esteem. 100,000 books will come your way. How to build up your self-esteem. How to build up your self-esteem. Today we're gonna go into what the Rebbe. So if you don't mind, there's two readings I'd like to read about it. Okay, number one is text number 7. Okay. So here, where the Rebbe says like this: where does this come from? Where does this inclination that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not fast enough, we're not this, and what does this do? This causes tremendous anguish in our lives because we want to be successful. We want to live the best possible life. But internally, our mental mechanism is killing us. Where does this come from? So the Rebbe clearly explains this comes from the Yetzer Hara. This comes from the evil inclination. Now let me explain it just a little bit for those who are not familiar with this concept. When God creates an individual, he creates them with two drives. We call these two souls. One drive is called the animalistic side, and one side is called the godly side. The godly side, you can imagine what he wants. All he wants is you to be connected to the Almighty. That everything about you, your thought, your speech, your action, your emotions, your kindness, your study should be God-centered. His main purpose here, the godly soul, is in order for you to take that little 3-letter word that gets us into trouble. It's called ego. Your ego. It wants you to take your ego and diminish it. Okay? So instead of feeling, then look at me, I'm taking up space, I'm an independent character, I don't need God, it wants you to take that feeling and diminish it. It wants you to be subservient and say to yourself, yes, God created me, but he created me for a purpose, and my purpose is to serve God. And to always remember that is the central focus of my life. No matter how much I'm going to be successful, no matter how great I'm going to be, how popular I'm going to be, it doesn't matter to me. I am here to serve God, and I'm only the vehicle. That's all the godly soul wants from you. What does the animalistic soul want from you? He says, you schmo, you, who are you? What are you? You take that ego, okay? And you know what? You're not good enough to be God's servant. You're not good enough to do this. He's trying to distract you. Now, this drive that we call the evil inclination, which is also it's a bit of a misnomer, because when we think of evil, we think of something terrible, like a guy tying down the damsel on the train tracks. The Mr. Evil, like that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about anything that derails you from fulfilling your purpose and your mission in life. Anything that's not God-centered comes so. So this evil inclination comes to you and says to you, who are you? Mr. Big Shot. here you're talking about connecting to God. You're connecting to God. Who are you to connect to God? You're nothing. You're just a bag of bones. You're not even a bag of bones. You're a heavy bag of bones. Okay? And you know, believe me, and he gets into your head. Now, when he gets into your head, it's very dangerous because he doesn't leave. It's like that relative that invites himself over for 2 days and they're still there 6 years later. You know, the mother-in-law. I mean, the other relative. I'm not talking about that. Not mother-in-law. I meant something else. It was a slip of the tongue. Okay? But you know what it is. It gets into your head, into your psyche, and it's impossible to get him out. You can't get him out of there because he knows you so well. And he knows your routine so well, and he knows how to manipulate you so well. And even when your godly soul is struggling and fighting so hard in order for you to really be able to attain this sense of self-worth, you know, to be able to go out and to fight the good fight in the world. And I'm not talking a war, physical war, but the good fight in the world to bring light into the world, to bring God's, you know, presence into the world. This evil inclination gets into you and he works you like there's nobody. He knows exactly your weakness. Why is there a chocolate bar in my house anyways? Why? There shouldn't be. I'm an addict. I mean, you wouldn't go into a guy's house if you knew that you had a friend that had a cocaine addiction. Would you come Friday night to his house with a bag of cocaine?
Yes.
So Shana, I'm inviting you for Friday night. Okay? You're coming Friday night. If your friend was an alcoholic, would you come with a bottle of booze to the guy? Of course not. You wouldn't come. Why? Because you're sensitive, to that. The evil inclination is not sensitive to you. He'll even bring you down. You go to the store. You say, you know what? I'm buying a chocolate bar in case of emergency. Because who knows when the big earthquake? We're sitting on the St. Andreas Fault here in Long Beach. Any day this could happen. Can I be caught without a chocolate bar? So I hide it. So I should never touch it. It should be out of my mind. I should never even look at that thing. So Shana just brought up but that's a protein bar. That already has health on it. I can't. I need to have the fat bar. Okay? So why is there one here in the house? Because the evil inclination knows that when you're shopping and you're going down the aisle and you see, the chocolates and the ice cream, why are you buying? I'm not buying it for myself, honey. The grandchildren are coming. I mean, the grandkids are going to come. What do you want them to eat kale like I'm eating? I mean, what?
That was a delusion.
Who's a delusion?
That you would buy it for the grandchildren.
Yes, that's all I buy it for. I buy it. Some people come over on Saturday afternoon. I don't know who, but some people come over Saturday. Honey has to have something to serve, right?
I've never been offered a chocolate bar.
No, but how about the parva ice cream? No, never. Okay. So tell her she's hiding it from you. Okay, she's hiding it from you. So now it's telling you. So that's what happens. So where does this come from? This comes from evil inclination. Now, the Rebbe has a great perspective on this because you think to yourself it's so over challenging. Just wait. So let's go to struggle fuels growth. Struggle fuels growth. It's brilliant. He says like this. In order that the good inclination should be able to soar even higher, there's a need for a tremendous amount of material. The inclination for evil that stands in opposition. So like we said before, you want to grow, you got to put challenges in the front. You want to grow higher, real high, the evil inclination is going to really challenge you. The more this quantity is increased, meaning the more powerful one's inclination for evil, so will the ascent caused by overcoming it be all the higher. So think about how great it is when you finally are able to step on that scale and it hits that magic number that you have been hoping for. Think about how great. So for someone, like we have guys in shul, I can't stand them, to be honest with you. They eat, they never gain a pound. I look at them, I hate them so much. Not them. I don't mean I hate them. I don't hate anybody. I'm a lover. You know what I mean? I'm a lover. But it's just, I'm jealous. That's what I am. I'm jealous. I'm jealous of them. They can eat anything in the Kiddush and they never gain a pound. They come back the same week, nothing's like, fine. But those who are challenged, when you can overcome it, and I've been there, when I've reached the goal, And, and every pound that you lose gets harder and harder and harder. It doesn't matter. You are in the zone right now, and that godly soul is really working on you. Like the Rebbe says, struggle fuels growth, because you know that the evil inclination is going to throw up a bigger fight. Every pound that comes down, every time that I call you for the minyan, it's 6 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock, there's a roadblock, the evil inclination is throwing up a roadblock. Listen, I grew up in Canada, okay? The average temperature in January is like below zero. You're laying comfortably in bed. The phone rings, and the rabbi is calling you because they need a 10th to the minyan. Right away, the Yetzer Hara is going to throw up a roadblock. He's going to say to you, are you nuts? What are you, nuts? You know what the temperature is outside? And especially if you drive a Chabad car, it's never going to start anyways. It's a Chabad car. It's not going to start. And then you've got to get out there, scrape the windows. It's freezing outside. So he throws that roadblock up there. And what do you say to yourself? He's right. He's right. Just return. It's so comfortable here in bed. But then you think to yourself, look, there's 9 guys in shul, they're waiting for me. I'm going to make the minyan. You get out of bed, you go to shul, you're there, you daven. You feel like $1 million. Why? Because you were able to overcome this tremendous challenge. If you're living in California and it's 75 degrees and the rabbi calls you for a 10 o'clock meeting in the morning, you lazy bum. Why are you in bed at 10 o'clock in the morning anyways? He's calling you. And you get up there and you roll into shul like you're doing everybody the biggest favor in the world. Okay, not so big. Let's say that's not such a big challenge. Let's go. But the more you're challenged, and everybody here around the room has their unique challenges. No two people have the same Yetzer Hara, no two people have the same challenges. For some people, there's no challenge. They're ready, open, every time there's a campaign, their checkbook comes out, they write the check, goodbye, they're happy to do that. For some people, I call it, they suffer paralysis. What happens? Their hand gets stuck here. It doesn't reach the page. Finally get the pen to the check. Everybody has their own challenges, and far be it from me to criticize somebody else's challenges. But what the Rebbe is saying over here is, instead of you looking at the challenges, oy vey's mir, I'm a fraud, this is who defines me. No! The Yetzer Hara doesn't define you. The evil inclination doesn't define you. What defines you? The godly soul you really are. The evil inclination is only challenges. Now here, we talked before about, why me? Why does this happen to me? Why did God do this to me? Why did the big game is coming up there? I play college basketball. All the agents and are going to be there. Big game. I break my leg. Why? So I'm sitting there. Here is my chance. Everybody's going to see me play. I break my leg. So the Rebbe calls us beneficial challenges. So listen to this. No human being can answer such questions which only Hashem the Creator can answer. What's the question? One observation that can be suggested in relation to the question, why me? Why me? Nobody could tell you why you. Nobody. Why you? Why? We don't know. If an individual experiences a particularly difficult or trying situation, it may be assumed that God has given him extraordinary powers to overcome the extraordinary difficulty. So you mentioned before what Marcy was saying, maybe it's because you broke your leg because you were not going to do well today. You were not going to do well, and your price for entering the NFL or the NBA or whatever was going to go down. So God figured, you know what you're going to do? You'll get injured today. You'll sit it out. Now what you're going to do is when you get better, and now you go to what they call pro day, where everybody comes and sees you, you're going to be 1,000,000 times better. Think about it that way. So maybe, like you mentioned before, maybe it's because, God has given him extraordinary powers to overcome the extraordinary difficulty. The individual concerned is probably unaware of his real strength. The trial may therefore be designed for the sole purpose of bringing out into the individual his hidden strength. Now, we know physically, and we've seen this, that mothers are able to do things supernatural strength under extraordinary circumstances, like a baby under the car, and the mother somehow picks up the car or does things. Ask her again, in 1,000,000 years, she's never able to do that. That moment, something went in her, a burst of this spiritual energy, and she lifted. Okay. So this is what God is saying here. This is what Rebbe is saying. After overcoming his problem can be added henceforth to the arsenal of his revealed capacities. in order to utilize both for the infinite greater achievement for the benefit of himself and others. So you may have missed the combine, you may have missed all of the agents and everybody coming to see you, but the next time around, you will do better, you will throw harder, you will throw farther, you will run faster, you will make up for that. And how are you going to be able to do that? How can you run faster than you've run? How can you throw further than you've run? Only because you know that here's your chance. You had it before, you missed it. Now is your chance to prove that what you say you are, you are. Next thing you know, you threw the football 70 yards. You've never done that before. You've never thrown 70 yards of football. You know, that's a lot. It's a lot of yards. These guys, that's a lot. And if you think about this, there are guys in this world that can throw a football 70 yards. We can't, and that's why we're not making $50 million a year. They can, and they are making $50 million a year. But I'm only mentioning that because in sports, you see truly what separates those guys that can bring out the best in them at a time when you think, there's no way. All of a sudden, boom. The best proof in the pudding was this. I mean, I'm only mentioning this because the Super Bowl Sunday has now become a national holiday. Let's be honest. There's one national holiday in America, it's Super Bowl Sunday. People who watch the Super Bowl, I would, in a billion years, never. You watch the Super Bowl? Some of my friends, colleagues, rabbis, you watch this. If everybody watches, I watch it. So the guy that was the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers is a guy that was drafted the last choice of all. Meaning they go through round after round after round after round. He's chosen. This guy's sitting in round 1, now round 2, now round 3, now 4, 5, 6. And the last guy in the thing, he was chosen. There's a name for that. Mr. Irrelevant. Okay? Because the guy's irrelevant. The chances of this guy ever making it is so infinitesimally small. I mean, it's like 290th. He was like, with something like that number. This guy that started the Super Bowl, which was only 2 teams in the Super Bowl, was Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, think about that for a second. The challenge that this guy had to overcome in his head, that everybody calling him Mr. Irrelevant, shows up to a football team, doesn't think that someone drafts him, he shows up to practice. Who are you, Mr. Irrelevant? He even gets a badge. None of this. He has to wear a badge, Mr. Irrelevant. Okay, who are you? Next thing you know, circumstances puts him into a position, and the guy ends up the starting quarterback. This is not normal. This is crazy. Only to prove a point of what the Rebbe is saying, that you gotta always stay positive and always keep a keen eye. You never know. And I'll take it one step even further. The winner of all winners in sports is Tom Brady. That's probably the greatest winner of all. The man was drafted way down the line. No one believed in him except one coach. Put him in there. Next thing you know, he wins 7 Super Bowls. So what does this all tell us? Okay, you don't have to be a Brady, you don't have to be Mr. Relevant, you don't have to be any of these things, but when circumstances come your way and you're put into a position of challenges, instead of saying to yourself, Lama, why me? Why me? Take that as a challenge to say that I have it within inside myself that I can overcome this. So if you're taking a test or you're doing all of this or whatever the circumstances are, you know what? We can do it. I don't have to tell you how Jews historically have suffered from challenges. We've had challenges thrown at us more. It's hard to judge who suffers more because we like to play the suffering Olympics. We, the Jews, have suffered more than anybody. I think the Haitians have suffered more than anybody because Haiti is literally God's toilet bowl. I mean, anything that happens bad happens to Haiti. I mean, there's tsunamis. I mean, we've suffered bad, don't get me wrong, but Haiti seems to have just a special love from God. Okay? So, what happens is historically, we've had challenges. So how do we look at history? History of Jewish history, you could look at one of 2 ways. One, it's just an amalgamation of disaster after disaster after disaster. That's what it is. There was a great historian, Salo Baron, that wrote that don't look at Jewish history this way. We have a tendency of looking at history, destruction of the first temple, destruction of the second temple, then the exile, then Bar Kokhba results, then the Crusades, then the Khmelnytsky, then the Holocaust, and then finally Hamas. You know, that's Jewish history. Yeah, don't do it that way. Jewish history is full of tremendous achievements, incredible achievements, improbable achievements that we as the Jewish people did. Study that history. Study that history and you will know what the Jewish people. But what do we hear from the outside? Boom, boom, boom. One tragedy, another tragedy, another tragedy, another tragedy. Spanish Inquisition, I forgot to throw that in. The Spanish Inquisition. A few exiles from Europe, a few this, a few that, and then now in Israel from 1948, war after war after war. But in the middle of all of this, look what we've accomplished. Look what we've accomplished. It's incredible to think that we have been thrown all of these challenges, and where are we? We're here today. We're standing upright. To think about in 1945, in April of 1945, my mother was liberated from a concentration camp called Bergen-Belsen. These survivors were like whacked. I mean, my mother was 4 years in a ghetto, Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, one other concentration camp along the way, which I didn't even know about it till I found a piece of paper recently outlining where she was, but she was liberated in Bergen-Belsen. Okay? The marriage spike that in April, in that summer, when people got married, people had kids, people did this. You thought to yourself, how? Who would want to have children in such a world after you experience such a thing of being in Auschwitz, then being in Bergen-Belsen, going through the ghetto? And then, miracles of miracles of miracles. In 1948, what happened? 3 years, literally 3 years, almost to the day that the war ended, the state of Israel was established. Who would have believed this after we suffered the death of 1/3 of all of the Jews in the world? We went 6 million, was 1/3, 33%. Imagine, here will be 120 million Americans. Imagine 120 million Americans get slaughtered out. We lose 5 Americans, we shudder, we go crazy, right? You went 6 million, and we were able to establish. So what did the world bless us with? A war. Right after we established the state, a war was fought. We survived it. Another war we survived, and we will survive this one too, God willing. Okay? Yes, we will survive this. But the attitude that we had, always, why are we able to accomplish this? So this is a little story that we will finish with today. Because this is what we call laughing at the foxes. What is the story? 4 leading sages in the time of the Talmud, if you want to follow, it's text number 9. Rebbe Gamliel, Lezman, Azariah, Yeshua, and Akiva were traveling together. 4 great scholars. This was after the destruction of the temple, of course. They ascended to Jerusalem, and when they arrived at Mount Scopus and saw the site of the temple, they rent their garments in mourning. When they arrived at the Temple Mount, they saw a fox emerging from the site of the Holy of Holies. The sages began to weep, except for Rabbi Akiva, who began to laugh. So imagine that. Okay? Why are you laughing? They questioned him. So he answered them in a question. How all Jews answer a question. With a question. Right? Why are you weeping? Why are we weeping? This is the location which the Torah says any non-priest who approaches will die at God's hand. Now foxes stroll through it without consequences. Should we not weep? I mean, imagine, this was the holiest place on earth, and now look what's walking through a fox like nothing. Rebbe Akiva explained, that's why I'm laughing. Uriah prophesied regarding Jerusalem's destruction, warning that because of you, Zion will be plowed like a field. That was one. He was telling the Jews, if you don't repent, you don't go back. Okay. Zechariah prophesied in the future, there will be elderly men and elderly women sitting in the streets of Jerusalem. Okay? That it will be rebuilt. Now, until Uriah's prophecy of destruction was fulfilled, I was afraid that Zechariah's prophecy would not be fulfilled. If you don't see the place it plowed over, then maybe in the future never be rebuilt. Now that Uriah's vision has become a reality, it is clear that the messianic vision of Zechariah will become a reality. The sages responded, these are the exact words, Akiva, you have comforted us. Akiva, you have comforted us. Think about Akiva's attitude. Instead of falling down and saying to himself, you know what, Mir, look at this, it's all tzoris, or it's only bad, everything is falling out around us. Akiva said, you know what, we Jews believe in the coming of Mashiach, that one day we're going to rebuild this land. In this land, men will dance and sing, and elderly and youth, and everybody will be together and in peace and in harmony and in goodwill. And I believe that 100% because I've seen the other side of the coin. The other side of the coin of the destruction. I believe now in the redemption, the ultimate redemption. And the Rebbe was a fanatic about this, about the coming of Mashiach. And he said, you know what? He quoted a verse from Isaiah that says, I thank you, God, because you were furious with me, because you gave me all of this pressure while we were in exile, but now your anger has receded. We're gonna now be in good shape. There are many people that believe, not Hasidim so much, but that the establishment of the state of Israel was kind of part already of this redemptive process. We're still waiting for Mashiach to do it. But you can imagine, and you go to Jerusalem and see what they did there. You go to Tel Aviv and see what they did there. You go to Haifa and you go to Lod and you go to Hadera and you go to Yaffo and all these places and see what they built over there. You know what? It's not Mashiach, and it's not the beginning of the Messiah process, and we're still deep down in trouble. But we see that when we get together and we focus together and we're together and we're one, what we can accomplish. Even when we're down and out and beaten, all we have to do is we have to remember one thing. We got to do it together. That's the key to overcoming challenges as a Jewish people. And that's the hardest thing to do, to get every Jew to walk in the same thing. I think that October 7th shook us like nothing shook us before. We've never seen anything like that before. Since World War II, I don't think we've seen this kind of a massacre. But that shook us. We trying to stay together. I see a lot of people that have come out of the woodwork that were wishy-washy about Israel are now very serious, working for Israel, advocating for Israel, supporting Israel and all of these things. We've seen our friends who we thought were wishy-washy rise. We've seen our enemies also rise their heads. Don't get me wrong. Plenty of enemies out there. But our enemies should not define who we are. We got to do what we have to do. So whatever Israel has to do, and thank God I'm not sitting in the seat of the Prime Minister or the Minister of Defense, or I'm not making those kind of decisions. You never want to be in that thing. Okay? But I do know that as far as we're concerned, as far as the people are concerned, we have to be positive. We have to be confident that we are going to be victorious, and we are going to stay the course and do whatever we have to do. You know what? We know what happens when there's no Israel. We saw from 1939 to 1945, we saw what happens to us. We went, like they were saying, like someone said, like sheep to the slaughter. That's how we went. We didn't put up any resistance, and there's many reasons we can go into it at another time when we do Holocaust studies. But today is no excuse. We know who the enemies are. We know what they're trying to do to us. And we're not going to lay down anymore. No matter if they're going to pressure us, who pressures us, what pressures us, it doesn't matter. They can go on TikTok, they can go on Instagram, they can see whatever they want. But they're not going to pressure us to lay down again. This is Israel. It's been in the Jewish hands for thousands of years. It will be in the Jewish hands till Mashiach comes. And Hashem should bless those soldiers, the men and women of the Israeli Defense Forces, for doing what they do. And God bless their parents for not sleeping at night and worrying about them. And God bless everybody that lives in that country for what they do over there. And the Jewish people, if we stay as one, will be victorious, because Am Yisrael Chai. And that is true for communal challenges, global, national challenges, and also personal challenges. The Rebbe always was, do what you have to do. Even remember him saying, even when the President of the United States pressures you, he doesn't mean it. He doesn't mean it. He wants you to continue. He's saying it because of PR. He has to say it. But he wants you to, he knows who the enemies are. He wants you to go after them. So do whatever you have to do. We, on the other hand, have to do whatever we have to do to be the best that we can be. And when there's a challenge, both situational, personal, like Stanley's looking at me like this, okay? But personal or internal, and we're not feeling so hot, we're not feeling so good, or historical, when any of these challenges come, we know one thing. It's only there to bring the best out of you. So let's be the best that we can possibly be. Let's go out there and live a full, meaningful, purposeful life. Because you know what? Life is short. You never know, when the bells will toll. So let's get out there and do the best that we can and live a great life. And before long, Mashiach is going to come. And then we're going to be able to realize, all of this is what happened in the past. Next week is always the saddest class is next week, number 6. And that's going to talk about personal growth. That's just another incredible way the Rebbe looked at everything. I hope you enjoyed this class. I want to say good night to you in the Facebook world. If you like this, please give a like, a send, a share, a bear, or whatever you want to do. Also, I announced yesterday that I'm in the podcast world, that I know there's a million podcasts, but we decided with my daughter Chayle and a friend of ours, we're doing a podcast called Education. Jew, Education. That's what it's called. And we're going to put out the first podcast should come out, I believe, on Thursday. I'm not sure how you get it. That's my problem. I'm such an ignoramus. But I will let everybody know on Facebook how you can access it. Please give it a listen. And if you like it, please let us know that you liked it. Otherwise, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And we'll see you soon.